All right, let's see what we got going here. Let's turn this down. Yep, that's on silent. Camera, microphone. Yep. So far, I haven't walked into the restroom with the mic on yet. Not that I'm going to do that today, but just, you know, just talking about it. All right, so we have got October 23rd, 2024. We're streaming to YouTube at 1080p 60 at 10 megs, probably faster than we need to. We did that last week, and I think we had some, what did we have? Yeah, I think we just had some slow internet on some of the other things. So we'll probably take that back to back to 8 megs next week. Not really 60, it's 59.94, but you know, 60. Render time is 5 milliseconds. CPU memory is 60%. Sorry, GPU memory is 60%. CPU vMix is 5%. We are running a, what are we running? Let's get the syst info. We are running a Intel Core i9 10900KF. Now the 10900KF obviously is some, what, 3 generations old, but it's running at, what is it running at? 4.9 gigahertz, sorry, which is plenty fast. It is it is air cooled, and so right now we're in the 60s and 70s Celsius. We're running with 32 gigs of RAM. Why? Just because I had it on hand. Really only need 16, sorry. What else have we got? We're running the Asus Prime Z590A motherboard. So we're a couple of generations old on that. Not that that's bad. It's just, you know, it's just gear. There's always something faster and newer, especially newer. We're running a, what is that brand? Looks like an Asus, yes, an Asus RTX 4070 Ti, which I like a lot, but if you're considering it, make sure you've got the space for it, because it is like a, I'd say it's a 3-slot wide card. Might be a slightly more than that. I mean, it sits in a slot and it covers up 2 3/4 slots in addition to that. So, but I like it. I like it. One of the things I like about it is it has 5 outputs. It has 2 HDMIs and 3 display ports. So it gives me plenty of output options just off of that without having to add other cards. I also have a Blackmagic DeckLink mini monitor attached that I think has gone bad because I can't get a good signal out of it no matter what I do. So it may be so old that it's not worth getting repaired. Sometimes that's the case. So, yeah. So let's see. Let's go here and here. And what else have I got going? The mic today is the Hollyland Mark. Oh, golly. I should know the answer to this question. The Lark, Hollyland Lark Max, not Mark Lax. And I really like it. You know, it's fairly inconspicuous, not as inconspicuous as an off-camera mic, of course. But yeah, there's my good old Audio-Technica AT897, which I have loved for years and years, and still have one here and have one over in the green screen studio, and a spare in the closet. And that's running through my Behringer 404 HD Euphoria. Yeah. So which is the same one. I don't know if they're still using it, but the same one that vMix guys used on the vMix Funtime live show for years and years. And when they came to the U.S. and did that StreamCon in Atlanta back in 2017, that was a lot of fun. I don't know if you were there, but it was the only one we did, and I'd hoped we would do others. But anyway, that's the mixer they brought, and they were. It was funny. It was getting close to showtime because they were going to do their vMix Funtime live show live from there, and they didn't have an outlet to plug it into. And I was like, guys, it's USB powered. And they're like, no, it's not. It has to be plugged into power. I said, just try it. They did. It worked. Mine's been USB powered since I plugged it in, and I haven't unplugged it. What about you? Do you run your, well, see, I'm in a studio. A lot of folks are doing gig work, so they're on the road a lot. But this system stays on 24/7. Partially because I want to be able to get access, obviously, because I want to be able to get access to it after hours, nights, and weekends, in case I need to make some changes, or sometimes I'll actually dial into it using TeamViewer while I'm on a TeamViewer dial-in remote on another system that we're doing some tech support on, and I just want to compare the two systems. You know, what's different? Why is something working differently here than there? And it's nice to have that one to fall back on as a system that's clean and not one that I'm actively using, so I can play a lot, experiment a lot with it. In fact, let's just check something with it here real quickly. Just want to check. Sometimes it's kind of funny. The NVIDIA graphics card driver sometimes will reset itself in the 3D settings under power management mode. You want to set it for the highest setting, which in this particular case is prefer maximum performance. And sometimes it'll just turn that off. Maybe it's when Windows doesn't update that driver by accident. If you leave that driver, if you leave it and don't update it enough, then Windows will see that it's out of date and throw an update in. And I think that resets it. So you have to go back in and set the prefer maximum performance again. So yeah. So there is that. Okay, we'll leave the temperature monitor up today just for fun. What other monitors do we have down here? Got a GPU temperature monitor. And yeah, we'll let that one hang around a little bit. What else do we have? No, it looks like all the monitors we've got. All right. So yeah, so the GPU right now, it's got a 25% load, which is not much, and it's at 43 degrees Celsius, 43, and that's the 4070 Ti. And then the i9 10900KF, that's on the LGA 1200 socket. In my case, that's an Asus Z590 Prime A motherboard. And we're running in the 50s, which occasionally bumps into the 60s or 70s. It's interesting. I've got supposedly 10 cores, and cores 6 and 7 are over 20%. Cores 3 and 4 are 1%. So it doesn't look like the load is being shared quite so evenly. Yeah, well, we'll worry about that later. We'll worry about that later. How are we doing on time? We got a couple of minutes left. Right there. Yeah. So it was fun getting ready for today's show. I decided to do some of the fitting and machining. I use that word very, very loosely. The Dremel work, cutting metal and shaping and drilling and such. I did that this morning. There was no sense in you guys watching that live, especially if there was a slip of the Dremel. Oh, let's pull that out of the. Yeah, that would have made for good video, but it wouldn't have been much fun for me. Yeah, it would be like, okay, do I take care of myself or do I pay attention to you? What do I do? I don't know. So I decided to do that this morning and kind of get that squared away, and was able to do exactly what I wanted to do in record time. So I was really, really pleased with that. And it just involved, using a little Dremel, little grinder wheel, and cutting metal and shaping it and smoothing it, and doing that without without breaking the grinder wheel, because then those things fly all over the place. But I did wear safety glasses, so that's important. And then you get covered with metal dust, so I had to make sure we got all that taken care of. So yeah. So today we're going to be using the PTZ Optics Move 4K camera, the 12X, which is this one right here. And then we also have an overhead camera, which is, can we find that overhead? Yeah, there it is. This is a PTZ Optics 1080p cam, which is slightly enlarged, and it's one of those variable focus cams. So it's box cam, and it's a manual focus and manual zoom, and it's overhead looking down at the workbench, and its SDI signal goes into a BirdDog Studio, the very first device they came out with, BirdDog Studio. Bought it off of eBay just because I thought everybody should have one. Hey, Daniel, welcome. I thought I wanted something like that. It was kind of the first foray into full NDI outside of NewTek, and I just want one for my collection. So there. And then we've got a BirdDog, old school BirdDog P120 that's kind of looking down on the workbench from an angle, and then an old well, not old, but a Gen 2 PTZ Optics 30X camera, a little bit more lens than we need. So we may have to make some adjustments at some point. Yeah, let's see. Well, we'll worry about that if we have to. And then for fun, I have set up, and for those of you that hang around here a lot, you'll know this. I've set up kind of a amalgamation. This is my multi-view shot. So this is on the big screen in the live stream, in the green screen studio. And top left corner is, what is that? Top left corner. It looks like two cameras, one on top of another. We'll have to check that one. Bottom left corner is the PTZ Optics Gen 2 NDI. Top right-hand corner, of course, is the overhead shot. And then the bottom right-hand corner is kind of my shot to let me know what's in output. And currently, the output's in output. And then, of course, in the middle is the is vMix Social. So let's have another look at that shot and see what we're doing in layers on that one. Yeah, so that's the P120. That's the overhead shot. Why is the overhead shot being crazy? Ah, I see why it's being crazy, because we blew it up, but we didn't crop it. Okay, there we go. Now we're good. Now we're good. That's not quite so bad. Not quite so bad. Yeah. All right. Let's go. What do you say? We'll get a show. And by the way, if you're new here, introduce yourself. We'll be right back with the start of the show with a push of a button. Whoops. I did it again. You know, it's a funny thing. Funny thing, I have all these shortcuts, these kind of quick and dirty shortcuts set up. And what I just realized is I can't use these quick and dirty shortcuts if they have an A, B, C, D, or E, or F in them, and use the keyboard to type at the same time. So I've outsmarted myself once again. Holy cow. Holy cow. Okay. So we are picking up on our seemingly never-ending saga of our vMix Go. Remember, the vMix Go was a creation that vMix had in the hardware world about 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago now. And it was a portable. It was really nice. It was kind of in between a desktop and a laptop, in that it was a lunchbox style case, is what they used to call them. And this particular one came with the screen, and then of course you had to supply your own monitor and keyboard. The CPU that came with it originally was an i7, I think it was a 4770, and we have updated that to an i9. I think it's a 10900, like I've got right here in this system. And so we had to kind of go back in time to get a motherboard for it. I don't recall what the motherboard is off the top of my head, but we'll figure it out. We're going to put we tried last week to put a RTX 4060 in it, and I realized that the 4060 that I had on hand was the low profile bracket, and I had thrown away the regular profile bracket. Oh my gosh. And I mean, I searched the studio up and down. Even went onto eBay to see if I could buy one, but they haven't been out long enough for people to scrap them. And I've thrown away, well, yeah, I've thrown away stuff that I shouldn't have thrown away. But if you look around my studio, you'd say, Tom, you don't throw away anything, which is, that's true too. Anyway, so I know I'm going to use that low profile 4060 for a project in the future. So I went ahead and bought another one, which has of course the low profile and the regular profile bracket. So we'll be installing that, and we'll be installing the liquid cooling today. So let's step over to, and the other thing is my ABCs. This is what I'm using today to control this show. And that's why I've got an output window here, so I can see what it is that I've got an output. I wish that we could set this up with, with preview and program like it was it was not only just a switcher, but like it was a multi-view, but that'll come in time. So let's let's go over to the other system, and I'm going to shift us over there. Boom, there we go. And I'll step over there myself. Are there any tools I need to take with me? Don't think so. Don't think so. Okay. All right, so here we are. And let me show you what I've done. Get some stuff out of the way here. And we'll shift to a different cam here. Let's go to this cam right there. There we go. All right, so this is the system. And you can see the CPU sitting right there, kind of naked. And this little guy, the pump and the water block. By the way, when these come out of the box, they'll have a little cellophane on it. Peel that off. Yeah, I think I've done that twice. Installed the whole system with the cellophane on there. And then this particular case was originally equipped with 2 removable hot swapping SSD drives and an audio interface. Maybe they were oriented like this, I don't remember, or maybe like that. Anyway, so it left this huge hole there. So I've used the huge hole to mount the radiator for the liquid cooling. And then I added, I don't know if you can tell, yeah, it's kind of all scratched up. I added a piece of steel here that actually mounts to the chassis of the vMix Go. And then this is just a cosmetic cover right here. And then I'll take some hardware cloth or some sort of cloth and put it over that to kind of protect the radiator and give it a little better look. At this point, it's not really secured at the bottom, and I'll see if I can figure out a way to do that. Maybe I can make another plate like that for that. One of the other things that we were left with last week, in addition to having the 4060 that didn't have what it needed, is a way to power the 4060. And so here is a 6-pin and a 2-pin power connector for the 4060, and that had to be Molexed in because we didn't have one off of this this 600 watt power supply, which is sort of a server power supply. It had the extra 4-pin for the CPU, but it didn't have anything for a GPU. Go figure. I guess if it's going to be a server, it's going to need the extra motherboard power before it needs the extra GPU power. So we've got that updated. The other change that we've made is we've got 2 fans back in the back here, and they were kind of coming out, and there are not that many places to plug fans in here. So we got a splitter for the fans so that we can just take up 1 fan power port on the motherboard when the time comes. So let's put this guy down and let's go ahead and see. Oh, you know what? Before we put the, hold on just a second. Let me get you in the shot. There we go. Before we put the video card in, we need to take the motherboard out so we can put in this back plate for the water block. That's going to go like that, but in order to do it, we've got to get it coming up from the bottom of this. So bear with me for just a second. Let's take some power cables out. You know, it's inevitable in a new project where you're doing things that you haven't ever done before, that you end up, you know, kind of having to take things back apart again to make them go the way they should have gone to begin with, but you weren't thinking about whatever that was to begin with. Let's see if we can get this one little guy out here. We're going to have some mechanical help to get that little plunger plunged in there. See if that'll do it. No? Come on, baby. One more time. Here we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. All right. So we've got the water cooler out of the way. We've got power out of the way. And we just need to come in with some screwdriver. My mechanical screwdriver that I love dearly is on the charger today, so we'll have to do everything the old school way. But one of my favorite Christmas presents from my kids, I think it was just something they put in my stocking, but and they just thought, you know, it was a $5 throwaway gift kind of thing. But it was one of those little demagnetizers for your tools. That was one of my all-time favorite gifts. And I liked it so much that I bought one for all the kids for Christmas for them the next day, and an extra one for myself, so that I've got one in my tool bag and one here at the studio. And it's great to have the screw magnetized to the end of the screwdriver. It makes retrieval so much easier. And if I drop something on the floor, it means I don't have to bend over quite so far to pick it up. You know this story. All right, so boy, we could have done this earlier too. I just sort of ran out of time. But let's see. One of the problems that we have yet to face, but we will be facing it shortly, is the fact that the monitor for this guy is a DVI connector. And the GeForce RTX 4060 doesn't have DVI. But the built-in, see if we can show it right here. There it is, but it's a side mount. So we're going to have to try to find an adapter that will adapt DVI to either HDMI or DisplayPort and allow us to do a side mount. But I may have to do, you know, a cable and a connector as opposed to just a single connector. All right, let's unplug the USB here. That's done, and unplug the audio. And I think that means our motherboard is completely unplugged. And this shouldn't take us but a second to pull it out and use the, yeah, there we go. Oops, there was one that we missed. What is that? Oh, that's a power switch. Okay, so we've got that out now, and we need to get this guy to attach to the bottom of it. So let's flip it over for a sec and see if we can just get lucky that if this old adhesive has enough bite to it. To hold it in place. Is that going to work? It is for the moment. Well, let's see. Okay. Let's see if we can get this motherboard back in place before that guy falls off. And I think we actually had the USB and the audio plugged in before we put the motherboard in. And I think that was because it was going to be hard to get to it otherwise. Let's see, that's going to be the audio right there. And then this is going to be USB right there. There's a 4 and a 5-pin connector, so we'd have multiple USBs there. And let's go ahead and plug the on-off switch in. That's going to be those two right there. We'll get the rest of those later. Let's see if we can't sneak this guy in without knocking something else loose. Oh yeah, there we go. Look at this. One of the nice things about this particular motherboard is that it has the I/O plate built into it, so you don't have to worry about, number one, leaving it out. It looks like we've got some wires trapped up underneath here. What can we do to get those out? Okay, we'll get that one out. Come on, baby. Come on, there we go. Come to Papa, as they say. And can we twist that like that a little bit? Come on, back out here. Here we go. Looks like we're wedged. There's not a lot of room to work. That's what I wanted right there. Okay, come on, come on. Come out the rest of the way. Are we going to be able to do that? No, we don't have enough wire there. What I want to try to do is get these two little black and white wires right here out of the way so they're not under the motherboard, because we're going to have to plug them in at some point. So let's get those. Oh, it's not that one. We've got that one. What about, is it? I thought there was a second one. Do I see it? I need a flashlight. Trying to avoid a problem in the future. Okay, looks like everything is plugged up, and the only wire left over is this little red and black right here. So we'll just let that stay kind of loose for the moment. Looks like our backing plate for the liquid cooling is stayed in place. And what about, yeah, we're sitting on top of something. We are not flat and, oh, there, that's probably what it is right there. Is that it? Let's see. Come on, baby. You know, when you start talking to this stuff, you know you've been in it for a while. What are we caught on? I don't think we're really caught on anything. But we've got, oh, it's that mounting plate. That new mounting plate is getting in the way of these wires. So let's just move these out of the way. Let's see if that helps. There's a tool that will allow us to pull these out of the way ever so slightly. That's it. That's it. It's all about problem solving. Nope, you can't go back down there because you got in the way when you did. All right, so we need to get this motherboard back in position. That feels like it's good and firm. And try to get back where we were when we started the show, which was with a motherboard that was firmly attached. And then we'll get the hardware and attach the CPU water block and pump. So let's get one of these in there. Boy, if I had to screw like this every day, my wrist would be in trouble. I miss my mechanical. Oops, I did it again. Yeah, you know, that's kind of the way the world is sometimes. You can make a mistake and learn from your mistake, or you can make a mistake and then you can make the same mistake again, and then you can learn from your mistake. And part of the problem is you don't always realize that you've made the same mistake again because you come at it from a different direction. You know, it's like looking at an elephant. And are you looking at the trunk or the tail? Well, they're two very different parts, and they may or may not, at first glance, be the same mistake. But eventually you find out they were, like having to take this motherboard out. Hopefully we won't have to take it out again. While we're here, though, we're going to take this little back plate out because that's where the graphics card goes. Originally, from what I understand from the vMix folks, this guy had a GTX 9050 Ti in it, and that's what powered it. So with the 4060, It's not a TI, but it's 5 generations newer. I think we're going to have a lot more NVIDIA power. And we'll also have the AV1 codec. So that means we've got the streaming to YouTube that we have now, because it's built into the card. And in fact, we will, that's our last one of those. So let's go ahead and get this guy unboxed. And have I taken this guy out yet? I don't think I have. This is fresh out of the box. Set the box aside for a second with the bracket in it, the low profile bracket that we don't need. And take the tape off. And we'll keep the bag, and then we can take the guard off the bottom. And then look at this. I love this. It's got 2 HDMIs and 2 display ports. And then the 8-pin power connector is on the side, not on the top. And that is a full-size bracket. And that full-size bracket is going to allow us to put this guy right here, which I haven't done and I'm doing for the first time. There we go. Click. Get that little piece of plastic out of the way. Sometimes things don't always fit, like graphics cards and capture cards and things of that nature. And it's because the lower flange is not bent correctly. In this case, it's because I left a screw in. Okay, so we'll pull this out. Are you catching a theme here? Things go in, things go out. I'll take this screw out here. That's what was keeping us from going where we needed to go. And we'll put it over here with our other screw, so they're not lonely. But sometimes these flanges can be bent a little bit and prevent you from getting that guy to seat home like he should. So let's try again. And looks like, yeah, that's a good fit right there. So we're going to go ahead and, oh, that's even better fit right there. Let's go ahead and screw him in. I guess everything on a PC in my mind is a hymn. I've just never made it hers. You know, mechanical things are kind of hymns, and sometimes softwares and things like that are hers, or she's, with their pronoun. Okay, so that's in. We can see again, we've got the problem here, that we've got all these beautiful outputs, but DVI is not going to connect to it. So what we may do is put all this cable back underneath here and come up with a converter that'll do probably DVI to DisplayPort, because DisplayPort is our bottom one right here. And then we'll see if we can't just mount it right in there. And all right, so before we go any further, let's see if we can mount our water block here. How do we want that arranged? There's a fan that's going to sit right here in the case. So I'd really like it if these guys could lay over a little lower. What if we came at it from the other direction? Like that. Is that gonna, no, it doesn't want to go that way naturally. What about like that? That might work. If I could have them come all the way down over here like this. They're a little too long to have them on this side. So if I can put them on this side, that'll work. That will work, I think. Or maybe we should take this cooler and flip it. I mean, the fan and the radiator, and flip it so these guys come out on the other side. Well, let's try it this way first, and we'll see. All right, let me slip over to the supply table and grab some mounting hardware. I think I have the hardware that came with that guy. If not, we'll be going out to YouTube or someplace to get it. But I think, yeah, that's what looks like the right stuff. You can't ever throw anything away. So hopefully there'll be 4 of these and 4 of these. So let's count. 2, 3, 4, and there's number 4. And then 1, 2, 3, and number 4. All right, and I've actually got a different size riser here, so we'll see if that's what I needed. Anyway, I've got them as backups if I need them. So we need some thermal paste. These coolers work a lot better if you get some thermal paste on them. Let me go over and grab some out of the cabinet here. One of these days I'll get around to labeling the cabinet, but just as soon as I do, I'll want to move everything to a different place. So let's get this guy out of the way for the moment and put these guys in. I think these are the right ones, but let's spin them in. We'll get them all the way in, then we'll do a dry fit. And see if that's right. This is going to be a screamer. You imagine an i9 and a 4060 as compared to an i7 and a 950 Ti. We are giving up the audio interface and the removable drives, but I think that's a good sacrifice. And actually, the case will have more air in it without those items kind of taking up space. So I'm hoping that'll help things stay cooler, because, you know, whenever you get into a smaller form factor like this, it's always heat that gets you. So let's go ahead and tighten those guys up a little bit. And we'll do a dry fit and make sure that those are the right risers. Okay, bring that guy around. That feels right. And on top of it, kind of force it down to where it would be if it were screwed in, and let it waller around a little bit, and then pull it back off. And we can see, yes, that is going to be, these are the right standoffs. So let's go ahead and put some more. Don't have to put a whole lot more. We got a pretty good coverage with just that little bead, didn't we? So we'll go ahead and give it another little bead, about the same size. This is one of these situations where I think it's better to have a little too much than a little too little. Okay, we're going to go here like that. Is that what we decided? Or there like that? That's an interesting shot, but I think we'll have more flexibility this way. All right, let's try it. There we go. Down on 3 sides. And we'll just take our little nuts here And they're actually set up for slotted or Phillips head or thumb, because they've got little serrations on the edges, kind of like a US quarter. So we'll get them thumb tight, and then we'll go back and tighten them in a crossover fashion with the screwdriver. And I tell you what, the difference, I didn't start out being a proponent of water cooling, but I really have been convinced by it. Now, of course, I say that, but my main rig doesn't have water cooling. It's got air cooling. But it's also in a pretty controlled environment. I mean, the temperature in here never gets above 75, and we bring it down into the lower 70s for a show. Let's go ahead and just snug these, and then we'll do a crossover pattern to tighten them. Okay, so let's start here, and we'll tighten that one, tighten that one, that one. What I also find in systems that travel is that these screws unscrew themselves. All right, so we're good there. We've got this power wire to connect, this power wire to connect, this power wire to connect. So that's the pump. Oh, and then we've got this one over here to connect too. So we've got a pump and the radiator fan, and then a back fan and two front fans. I wonder if we're going to have enough fan ports. We may have to get some more splitters. Let's check here just a second. I'm going to switch you guys over to another shot. And let's go to this shot right here. There we go. And we're going to just check and see if we have enough fan ports. So we've got one there. Can you see that? No, you can't. All right, there we go. We've got one down there and one there. And those are called chassis fans. So that's good. And then we've got one for the pump and one for the CPU fan, which would be that guy. So that's good. So that's going to take care of this one there, and then these two here. Doesn't leave us any others, but then again, we don't need any others because we don't have any others. All right, so let's trial fit all this. We'll go ahead and get it secured later. Come back and add some little sticky blocks or some zip ties or whatever is needed. Get this guy in, because I'd really like to fire this guy up and see what he'll do. Let's make sure we've got the right plugged into the right, because there are two of them here and they're right next to each other. And one of them says CPU fan, and one of them says CPU OPT. I think that's going to be for the pump. I don't see any others around here marked pump. And some motherboards will have one marked pump, but this one doesn't have one marked pump. I know you said it. Okay, so we're going to go CPU optional. Well, let's do the fan first because it's further away and will be blocked. So we'll do CPU fan. Come on, baby. It's dark in there. Yep. And CPU option. There we go. There's really only one way for these wires to go on because they're keyed. So that's nice. All right, so let's see. So we got fan, fan, pump, fan. Secure there, secure there. We've got some different power things we've got to hook up now. So let's go ahead and bring this guy back in. And again, we're just sort of trial fitting. So we're just getting it all hooked up. I want to make sure it works. Click. Did we click? We didn't click. Try again. Gotta click. Let's try again. There was a click. I don't know if you heard it, but I did. And I can see it's clicked in. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. We've got a Molex and a 4-pin. So let's get the 4-pin plugged in first, because that's going to be the hardest one to get. And again, it's keyed, so it's only going to go one way. And it may go like that. Nope, it's going to go the other way. Come on, baby. No, it's not going to go the other way. Maybe we had it right the first time. There we go. We had it right the first time. We just didn't know it. There we go. All right, we're making progress. And then we've got a little Molex over here that I think is supplying power to the monitor. So we'll get that guy plugged in. And you don't want to bend these things over internally. They're not very well attached. You kind of have to talk to them and work them into position. And say, yeah, baby, this is where you got to go. You got to go there, and you got to go there. There we go. Now they're talking to each other the way they should. And then we've got this other Molex that is going to be for the graphics card. So let's get those guys kind of slipped in together. Will they slip in like that? There we go. And they will back into the graphics card right there. Yeah. And we've got one wire down here called power LED that we haven't plugged in, and we're not going to plug in just for this testing purposes. What have we left out? What have we left out? In the chat, anybody see what we left out? KMR, oh, we've got the CPU. Wouldn't work without the CPU power, which plugs into the motherboard and should go click. That was a good click. All right, so we got CPU power, and then we've got the 24-pin power. We've got fan and fan, and then we've got CPU fan, which we want to make sure nothing blocks that fan, and the CPU pump. And then we've got the video card and what I think is the monitor, and then something else down here. I'm not quite sure what that is. That could be, who knows. So I think we have got everything. Oh, we don't have a adapter for our video card. So let's go ahead and find one of those, and we'll just sort of jury rig it for now. Hey, Jasper, glad you're here. So yeah, KMR says, yeah, when you don't throw things away, you end up with stacks and stacks of, I'll use that one day. I have a lot of experience with that. Not only stacks and stacks, but boxes and boxes. And I'll use that one day. Or what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll say, I used to have a such and so, but I guess I threw it away, but I need it now. So here we've got an adapter DVI on one side, and it's display pointer on the other. Going into our monitor outputs over here, I want to take this one and have it plug in down here at the bottom. So it really needs to be a right angle one. And they're like 57 different right angles you can get. So let's see if these guys will fit together. Maybe should have fit that part first. Get those guys to fit together and give it just a little bit of screw thread there to keep them together. And then we can get that one plugged in there. And with any luck, it'll power it up. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, yeah, power. We need some power for this guy. So let's find a power cable and see what we can find that's going to work. We need a long one. And I think these are about the same size. Yep, they're both 5-footers. Do we have power within 5 feet? I don't know that we do. We need one of them though. So let's take, we'll plug in here, and we've got the power supply off for the second, and we need to find a way to, someplace to plug this guy in. We need an extension cord that is 3, has a ground on it. So let's pull this one. Is that one going to work? Yeah. All right. So we've got power. And I'm going to turn on the power supply right here. No sparks. That's good. And oh, let's get a keyboard and mouse. In case it does fire up, we'll know what we have. And I keep, I use a wireless keyboard and mouse when I build systems. You can go anywhere on it. And I also use a little quick and dirty hub. So that gives me the ability to use the wireless. And then I've got a couple of thumb drives and room for one more that I keep utilities and drivers and other things on. And we'll just plug this guy in right here. Okay, so now we've got a monitor, keyboard, mouse, power, kind of jury rigged. But let's hit the magic button and see what happens. I hear whirring. No fans appear to be blocked. That's always good. When you hear, that's, oh, look at this. vMix, go, i9. That's right, we did configure everything. And can we adjust this monitor? I think we can. Let's go here like this. There we go. Look at that. Fires right up. Got a mouse. And this is also a Wi-Fi based system. Let's take a look here. So we've got all sorts of Wi-Fis. I don't have the antenna on, so the strong one is the one here in my studio. And then we also have the ability to go Ethernet, which is not connected. Okay, look at this. This is cool. Oh, are we using the right? Do we have? I don't think we have a driver on here for the 4060. Let's see. Oh, yeah, we do. I mean, I do. So we'll come here to my list of drivers. There it is. And this is from October 15th. So it's only, you know, a couple weeks old. Let's go ahead and install it. And while we're doing this, I want to show you the way that I install NVIDIA drivers, just so that they don't conflict with anything else you're doing in the future. Because the one thing you don't want when you install the NVIDIA driver is you don't want GeForce experience. And that's one of the first things you're asked after it unpacks all the files. It wants to give you GeForce Experience, which is a way to keep the driver up to date, but it also conflicts with vMix. So we don't want anything that conflicts with vMix. And in fact, just a minute, we'll run the vMix diagnostics and make sure that's the case. So Eric is saying, Tom, why not Windows 11? Here's our option. We can get the graphics driver and GeForce Experience, or we can get just the graphics driver. And that's what I want. And I also want to do a custom installation. I don't want to do express. I want to be in control of the whole thing. Yes, I'm a control freak because I don't want that driver. I don't want that driver. And I do want a clean install. In case there's anything been installed on this before with NVIDIA, I don't want it hanging around to bite me. So we'll let it do its thing. So Eric, to answer your question, why not Windows 11? Windows 10 will be supported by Microsoft until October 2025. So we've got a year. I do enough troubleshooting on other people's systems to see that occasionally Windows 11 doesn't handle audio the same way Windows 10 does, and that it ends up being an issue. And whenever I go into troubleshoot, and Windows 11 is very aggressive, or Microsoft is very aggressive about trying to upgrade people from Windows 10 to Windows 11. And I have been resisting that. Part of it is just because I'm a rebel and I don't like people telling me what to do, especially Microsoft. But the other part is that Windows 10 is tried and true. It's a known quantity. There we go. We're already done. Notice how the screen cleans up a little bit. Things are correct, resolution's right, and we're in business. One more thing we want to do with this, though, is to go into the graphics driver, agree to the conditions, whatever they are, and go to the 3D settings. And I know you can't see this, but down here is something called Power Management Mode, and it's set for normal. But we want to set it for prefer maximum performance. So when vMix is using the graphics card for the processing of SDI or HDMI video, it can use part of the graphics card for that. All right, so we're good there. And yeah, we're ready to go to town, baby. Let's see what we got here. Got one little thing we need to clean up. We'll dismiss that. We will not set up OneDrive. We will not set up account protection. And let's see. What was I going to show you? Something I was going to show you. Something else that you may want to know. We're going to go into settings here for Windows 10. And we're going to go to System and then to Power. And I'm going to tell it I don't want the screen to go off ever, so never. I don't want it to go to sleep ever, so never. And then I want to go to Additional Power Settings, which will allow me to go Additional Plans and go to High Performance so that I can get the most power out of the PC. I mean, this is not a go to Costco to get groceries PC. This is a go to the racetrack PC. So we don't want air conditioning or a trailer hitch or anything that's going to slow us down at all. Let's go here into, do we even have vMix installed on this? No, we don't. No, we don't. So we need to get that installed on here. And we just happen to have that handy on the thumb drive. And we'll let it do its thing. So this is actually, Eric, this is a Windows 11 license on this machine, but it is just Windows 10. So you can use a Windows 11 license to install Windows 10. And that's what we've been doing here for months and months. I want to try to get vMix installed and see if I can use the vMix, even though I'm not going to put a license key on this right away. Although, yeah, I don't think there was a license key on there before. So we'll take all the defaults for the installation. But there's a routine that vMix includes called vMix diagnostics. And you should use that every time you install vMix for the first time on a PC, and in fact, probably periodically as part of your regular maintenance. And that goes through, vMix diagnostics goes through the PC with a hit list of things that have been known to give vMix problems in the past, like NVIDIA GeForce Experience. So we want to make sure we haven't accidentally put something like that on there. And then I'll also go back through this PC and I'll take off, all the games and other kind of junk that kind of gets in the way. I will also do install the Magic YUV lossless codec. And that really has to do, I think, with, hang on a second here, with the multi-quarter and maybe even the replay. All right, so we got all that there. We've got these icons here. So let's see icon-wise. Even though we haven't enabled vMix yet, the key, can we do a diagnostic? Yes, we can. Okay, so we'll start the scan. And it says, scan started. No background graphic card application detected. The following applications may still interfere with vMix, but should not impact the graphics performance. And this is something called NVIDIA Driver Loader. And then it tells where it is. But it may interfere, but it shouldn't impact the graphic performance. So we'll just have to see. Is this going to be a problem in the past or in the future? We'll keep an eye out for it. So there we go. So there we go, folks. Now we've got some cleanup to do. Oh, we also ought to, let's check and see. Do I have any temperature stuff here? Can we monitor the temperatures? No, I need to put some temperature stuff on here. Oh, well, I do have Furmark. Let's run that for a second and see how that does. Okay, so we are doing 125 frames a second at 1920 by 1061, whatever that is. The GPU temperature is 65 degrees. The GPU hotspot is 75 degrees. GPU usage is 98%. VRAM is 6%. Fan 0, I guess that's going to be the fans on the graphics card, are at 71%. 73%. Yeah, so we'll let this run for a second, kind of get a feel for it. Whenever I'm troubleshooting a graphics card, we'll run this. It's called Furmark, F-U-R-M-A-R-K, and let it kind of test out the card. And a lot of times cards will bomb out immediately, but sometimes you can get an idea if it's got some temperature issues. It'll go right there. But we're doing 121 frames a second, which we wouldn't ever do, but it's a good test of the card, and that's gonna fluctuate just a little bit. 119, 121. While it's doing its thing, let's just check here also and see if we have any other utilities that will help us with this guy. Yeah, there we go. So let's let's kill off Furmark. Can we do that? Can we just X out of it? Yeah, there we go. And let's run this temperature test called AIDA 64 Extreme. And this program is not free. This is an evaluation of copyrighted software. Okay, that's what we want. And we want to do, we want to do the test. System stability test. So we want to stress the CPU, the FPU, the cache, the system memory, and the GPU. Windows video driver timeout detection and recovery value is configured too low. This may cause the video driver to be reset. Do you want to fix that issue? No, let's just don't mess with it. Okay, so are we ready to start? Let's start. And just out of your view, well, no, actually, I think you can see it. Right over here are the temperatures. I want to take off the temperature of the motherboard. And I'm going to take off the SSD temp, GPU temp, and the GPU hotspot temp. So that should just leave us with CPU, the various cores. And let's see, can we see a cooling fans, down low, voltage, power clocks, yeah, statistics. There we go. This is what we want to see. So we're looking right here at CPU cores 1, 2, 3, 4, and at the maximum core 4 maxed at 95 degrees just temporarily. Currently it's at 86. Oh, now it dropped down to 70. What we want to make sure is that we don't hit 100. That is the danger zone. So the maximum right here, we've got 1 at 91, 1 at 95. That's core 3. Nope, core 4. So that's one that we would want to keep an eye on. The air coming through the radiator is nice and cool. So hopefully it's doing its job. And this would be the kind of thing, especially on a system that was problematic. I mean, I had somebody call in the other day and say that they were having trouble with their system. It was just periodically shutting down with blue screen, and they didn't know why. And so I was able to run this remotely. And, you know, within just a couple of minutes, the 2 or 3 cores were hitting over 100. So we knew that they had a cooling problem. So let's see, we've got 97 on core 3, 91 on core 1. The CPU, just as the CPU itself, is at 77. Don't know why they're only giving us 4 cores, but that's right. Maybe it's just old software. Because down here under the clock, it gives us 8 cores. That's all right. And then down here at the very bottom, it says CPU throttling, and then it counts the number of times it throttled. So that would be the real telltale. So yeah, so let's let this guy run for a little while, make sure everything's as good as it can be, and we'll get back to the studio desk. And for a PC that's running full blast, that guy's not making a lot of noise. He's making some, but he's not making a lot of noise. So the major surgery I did all before before you guys got here, involving the Dremel tool and cutting some parts and making some openings and kind of crafting things so that mostly so that I could get that radiator installed. But yeah, so let's switch over to the post show, and I want to see your comments, and we will look at your questions. So let's cue that up. Post show. intro, outro. Yeah, that's what we want right there. Be right back. Okay, let's go. Let's see what we got. See what we got. So Daniel got here first. Well, he was the first one to comment, let's put it that way. Then Michael Graves got here. Then I realized that I couldn't type because I would fire off shortcuts by accident. You know, I'm not a Britney Spears fan, so I'm sure that's an important quote, but I'll give her credit for doing it first. And Gunner's here. And then KMR is saying not to throw things away. And I have, oh boy, one day I'll take you through some of my boxes. It's like just a trip through time and some of the old stuff that I've kept. Jesper's here. You know, that's the thing. You can't find it when I have sort of a photographic impressional memory, even growing up. When the teacher would ask something about something in the book, I could remember it was on the top right-hand corner of the page. Didn't know which page, but I could tell you if you got to the right page where you would find it. And I'm the same way about these. I know it's in a box. I know it's in that box in the top right-hand corner, but is it still there? Not sure. So this wasn't really major surgery. This was minor surgery, and it was done with everything unplugged. So yeah, there we go. So Windows 11, not yet, not yet. You know what's keeping me, Eric, from using Windows 11 is that things are not in the same place. But this is a clean install, yeah. So Michael Graves, it's worth mentioning that the VB audio, that's where VB comes from, Vincent Burrell, has recently issued new releases of its virtual audio cables that are built on the new Windows 11 audio core. Michael Graves, to the rescue. You are my hero. Windows 11 audio core is significantly changed. I'll be doggoned. Huh. That makes a lot of sense, Michael. You want to come on the show one day and talk about that? Or, I mean, you feel comfortable talking about all the different ways where Windows 11 has changed its audio core? We can do that. And even if we don't know it all, we can say that we do. All right, KMR has got 20 vMix licenses, and I can't have any of them. KMR, vMix licenses pass through my hands every day. At one point, was it last year or the year before? I bought 50 of them at one point. And I tried to get vMix to sell me 100 of them. They didn't want to do that. Probably just as well. Yes, the vMix Go, when vMix decided to stop producing the vMix Go, I think it was manufactured by a company in California called Acme Portable. And there was a company that I think picked up the rights to use the design. So there's something out there called the Production Bot, I think, Production Bot, that is making this machine now. Not sure if it's being sold internationally or not. But yeah, I mean, it's a clone of this, except it doesn't have the vMix logo on it. And you can get them configured however you want it. This one originally had the AJA card in it, and it's still got the decal on it saying that it's got the AJA card in it, but it doesn't. I'm not sure if I'm going to take the decal down or not. Just show up whenever you can, Bill. We're going to get Bill on the show. in the future, because he is in the automotive field, but he's also in the teaching field. So he's teaching people about how to repair and maintain automotives. And so he's built a studio in this mammoth garage, and he's equipped the studio with lots of cameras. And so we really need to get in there, Bill, Connor, when you're ready, and do a studio tour of his garage, because it's got to be really cool. It's got to be really cool. Ah, Michael would be happy to get Vincent's to appear as a guest. He's in France. Well, that would be right after his supper. Do you know him personally? Oh, how cool is that? Jeez. Michael Graves from Texas knows all the cool people. Yeah, that'd be great. That would be great to get somebody on that could really speak definitively to it. Because if he's rewritten his virtual audio cables based on the Windows 11 core change, then certainly he can speak to it, and might even be able to speak to it enough to where we can kind of prime the pump with vMix. Although, you know, it's tricky with vMix, because vMix has a huge respect for legacy users. I'm sure there's somebody out there still using vMix 9 or vMix 12 or whatever. And the last thing they want to do is have to produce 2 versions of vMix based on what version of Windows you're using. Maybe they've already started working on it. I don't know. But I'd like to know. I might send them a note and ask, or I'll just put it in the forum and ask, because maybe I'll put it in the feature request section and ask, because that would be it would be interesting to hear some discussion on if they're working on it, and if they are, yes, great, and if they're not, why. And I remember there was a discussion when vMix Call came out. There had already been a discussion in the feature request forum on the vMix forums for probably 2 or 3 years, talking about, you know, using WebRTC, and Martin Sinclair would say, you know, WebRTC is not mature enough yet, it's not stable enough yet. And then, you know, we continue to have, you know, conversations about what it would look like. And then and then vMix Call happened. Yeah. $. Yeah, Microsoft will force the issue one day, just as they did with Windows 7. I liked Windows 7. Windows 7 was great. I mean, in its day. What were we coming from then? Windows 95 or something like that? I know it wasn't Windows 6. I don't remember a Windows 6, or maybe it was Windows XP. Or Windows 98, yeah. Did anybody ever have Windows ME? Or what was it? Was it Windows 3.2? That's going back down the path. I remember I was a CP/M guy. Windows that was for people that didn't know how to use command lines. Not that I did, but yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I don't care who you are. That's funny. Yeah. All right, so getting back to the show, I think we are just about done with this vMix Go project. I'm going to see if I can't find that monitor connection that we talked about. I've got some tidying up to do inside. and then maybe build another bracket for the lower part of the liquid cooling radiator. But this guy's about ready to, oh, and I need to get some screening to cover that radiator. Not that, you know, but yeah, it needs to have something to protect it. Maybe it needs more than screening. Maybe it needs a little wire protector or something. I've got one, be right back. I've got one that I actually took off of that liquid cooling system. And, you know, it was just held on by four screws. So we might be able to do something like that. Anyway, we will see. I've got a box full of those KMR. So yeah, there. So good. Well, you guys do me an honor by tuning in. I appreciate that. And we will see you guys. Will we see you next week? Yes, we will see you next week. And the studio is got 2 PCs that are functioning and they're built, but they're not installed yet in their case. So I've got that as projects to get those out and to their customers, to my customers. And then I think I have orders for 3, maybe 4 that'll be coming in the next week or so. So we'll be busy with those. Anyway, we'll make time for you guys if y'all make time for me. And Michael, if you could check in with Vincent Burrell on VB Audio, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. He may not want to be associated with the likes of me, but I have thick skin. All right, we'll wrap it up, and we will catch you guys on the flip side. Thanks for watching, and have great weeks and weekends.